California's capital right to the nation's.
Now, their goal is simple. They want families to be able to get into affordable homes. Fox 40's Nikki Lorenzo has more on the mayor's fight.
An existential California crisis. That's how Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg described the housing debacle plaguing the state right now.
Here's the issue in Sacramento as I see it.
He made these remarks in front of a crowd of city and business leaders from the Sacramento region who are in Washington, D.C., asking federal lawmakers for help on projects benefiting the area.
So we have an opportunity now to connect the great Sacramento Renaissance to everybody, including those who too often feel left out.
And with nowhere to go because they simply can't afford to put a roof over their head. It's a problem many cities are grappling with.
In the last 5 years, we've had a 100% increase in home values in Sacramento, and all that's doing is pushing our lower income and our more vulnerable people further and further to the edge and further to being likely to not being able to afford an apartment, living in their car.
A sad domino effect with life-altering consequences for families.
After a few years, it's harder and harder to get them back into mainstream housing and to keep a job, to keep your kids in school, to stay off of substances.
A trend Terry says is not sustainable.
In housing units for low-income people, middle-income families, and we're seeing some of the largest rent increases in the country.
So how did we get here, and who's to blame? Questions Republican California Congressman Tom McClintock has strong answers to.
This is entirely the fault of local and state politicians who have imposed all of these costs on our housing supply, have constricted that supply, and have forced prices through the roof.
He also says federal regulation is a problem and is a common theme during meetings with cap-to-cap members who have stopped by his office.
Well, the pitches that we're hearing right now are not so much over money. They're please get the federal government out of the way so that we can proceed with infrastructure projects we already have financed, are ready to go.
Specifically calling out the Army Corps of Engineers.
Its Sacramento office has been the biggest single impediment to economic development and infrastructure construction that I know of in our region.
Deregulation is key, according to McClintock, and he has commended the Trump administration's action on this. Now, Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg alluded in his remarks today that he would be making an announcement in the coming weeks on a plan to deal with the housing crisis. In Washington, D.C., I'm Nikki Lorenzo, Fox 40 News.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Well, staying in Washington, D.C., where some groups are rallying for a permanent replacement of the DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, immigration program. One of those groups, the Workforce Development and Education Team, has made it clear that they want a new DREAM Act. For Brian King, the chancellor of the Los Rios Community College District, his main concern is the age of dreamers, most of whom are now between 18 and 34 years old. Sacramento County Superintendent of Schools David Gordon says DACA programs for students also have an impact on older dreamers.
They're in the workforce now, and many of them are working as teachers, and they come with second language abilities, and we badly need bilingual teachers to teach the students that we have. They have lived experience that's very helpful in working with the young people that we have in the school system, and it would be very, very foolish and short-sighted to cast them aside rather than continuing to welcome them and having them work in our school system, because they're doing a great job.
Right now, local community colleges don't ask students about their immigration status, and they don't count the number of declared dreamers. Fox 40 will